Brendan, how's the squad looking heading into Sunday?
Yeah, we've got Cam back training with the squad, which is good news. Greg Taylor as well. So we've got one more day to go, and then we'll see how they are. But they hopefully will be involved in the game.
The fact that you've got the options there, the defence showing exactly what they can do on Wednesday, is that quite good, knowing that you're not in a rush to get players back onto the pitch?
Yeah, well, we like them to be available. I think that's what's important. So it gives us options, which is what you want as a coach. But yeah, I think obviously the team defensively was outstanding the other night. So, but to have those two guys back, who are very important players for us, will be good.
What kind of challenge are you expecting from Motherwell? Because they made it tough for you last season. I think it was one draw, and then the 2 wins at Fir Park were injury time goals for yourselves.
Yeah, I think it's always been a tough place to go. I always really enjoy going there. It's always a really good atmosphere. We bring a great support behind the goals. So yeah, they're always tough games. Stuart, as his team set up well, go between obviously a back five, and then whether they play 2 strikers up front and 3 midfield, or a sort of 3-4-3 structure, it can just depend. Last few weeks has been more 5-3-2. So we'll expect a team that'll be well organised. Stuart organises his teams very, very well, very organised, very committed. They'll be disappointed with the last result, so they want to bounce back from that. And for us, we know what we need after a Champions League game. It's a big energy, big attitude, and continue with the great start to the season for us.
You obviously had those 2 games last season where you had last minute goals to get you the wins. I think your first spell as well, you had to go the distance a couple of times as well. As much as those are thrilling, enjoyable moments when they happen, but I suppose going there on Sunday you'll be looking for perhaps a less stress-free game over there.
If you can only predict and forecast, it'd be great. Everyone would love to be comfortable in the game, but sometimes it's not like that. So teams will give everything to get the result. But what hopefully that tells you is this is a team with perseverance and persistence and can keep going. So yeah, ultimately you have to do what it takes to get the result, and we always have that mentality that we can.
Are these some of the more satisfying occasions, the manager, because it does show that the setup you've got, that the players stick to it and they go right to the final whistle to get it?
Yeah, especially some of those games last season. I think some of the games when I said we were searching for that late win. I think Matt scored a great goal at the back post. The ball could have been easily just pumped forward and into the mix, but we kept that calmness, and then Greg makes a great cross in the half space, and we get the winner, and it was everything that we would want. So yeah, but yeah, scoring a late winner away from home, it is always really nice, and it's great for the supporters, and yeah, but of course, whichever way it comes, you just want to win.
Brendan, what pleased you most about the performance the other night in Italy?
I think that we're a team that normally, obviously domestically, and a lot of times we play, and especially at home, we'll want to take the game by the scruff of the neck and impose our way of working in the game. But when you come up against superior teams away from home, and that you're going to have to be in difficult situations where you're not going to have the run of the game, and in that there you need a high level of concentration. And that was probably the biggest part that really pleases, that concentration level right to the very end, against, like I said, a team from a superior league and a top team. We showed that we could defend really, really well, and be compact and tight and all the things that we spoke about before. But we showed a great physicality in the game as well to match their physicality, and right to the very end, right to the 94th minute. So there were so many pleasing things. I think that it was a game where the players can take a huge confidence, knowing that we can play some brilliant football, some fast football, score many goals, but to keep a clean sheet and play how we did out there, not only does it galvanise the players and their confidence and when those moments come, because they'll come again, especially in the Champions League, it will happen in the league sometimes as well, but certainly in the Champions League you're going to have to go through spells like that. We now know that we can do that, and it's also great for the supporters. You know, the supporters, as much as the football is great and intensity and everything and blah blah blah, they also need to know that your team can have a bit of dig, a bit of grit and determination, and I think we've seen that the other night against a top team.
And you've taken this position, wouldn't you? You're off at 4 points after 3 games.
Yeah, very much so. I think people say to you, you've got a home game against Bratislava and then away Borussia Dortmund and away to Atalanta to have 4 points out of that. You would be very, very pleased.
Just generally in terms of this week, very good results for all Scottish teams in Europe. Indication that perhaps it's not as bad as some people think.
Well, what you guys think, you mean? No, listen, it's waves, isn't it? You're going to, be judged at the end. I think you're going to have spells, like you say. Rangers' good result last night, Hearts. So it happens. And sometimes as well. But what I was also understanding is that sometimes for the Scottish teams as well, sometimes it takes a little bit of time to grow in to it as well. I think of the likes of ourselves. We jumped from our domestic league, which is a fantastic league, into the Champions League, which is the very highest level. So that jump is a huge jump. It's not, with the greatest respect, we're not playing that every week. It's not like a Premier League team that has that where you're playing it every week and you get that level and speed and intensity in the game. And sometimes it takes that little bit of time to then adjust to it. But I think all you can do, and listen, all you can do is look after your own club and be the very best that you can be. And where we sit after the 3 games, I'm more than happy with knowing that we'll improve as we go along.
Is recovery a kind of really important bit of these last couple of days, given probably had to do a lot more running maybe than usual with spells without the ball on Wednesday night as well?
Yeah, I just think it's the intensity level of that, but it's why we try to play at the level we do every week, so there's not so much a big change. Our game domestically is to impose ourselves right from the very beginning, to play as fast as we can, as direct as we can, and then take that intensity into the into that next level. But it is a step up. So of course, after games like that, physically and mentally, there's a recovery needed, of course. So, but the players are in a really good place today. They feel like footballers today, which is great. After Dortmund, it was a tough one, but they've also shown great courage, and they've shown that they can then go and, because it's a big ask going out to Atalanta on the back end of your last away game. To produce that performance really shows the togetherness of the team and the mentality of the squad.
I suppose you learn a lot more when I'm able like that than maybe from a domestic game, in the sense to see Nicholas Kuhn doing jobs he's not normally accustomed to doing. It's a good learning curve for everyone. Yeah,
listen, I think a lot of our game domestically is you're very much on the front foot, and then your defending is very much in a counter pressing format, because you're getting the ball back. You spend a long time with the ball, then you get it back quickly and you're counter pressing, and then you're going again. You go into Europe, of course, you're then having to be tactically that little bit more cuter, because you're spending less time with the ball at times. And also that the opponent's level can really hurt you if you're out of position. So it's what's asked of wingers here anyway, but of course it's highlighted even more when you get to that level. You have to do the work. You have to close spaces, you've got to press, you've got to run back, and then you can enjoy the ball.
You said after the Dortmund game that you would learn from this. Is that the thing that satisfies you the most? Is that the team did take on board the messages, but the distances between each other was perfect? You seem to really took on board what had to be done to compete at that level. Yeah,
I just think it was more, Andy, it was more actually just being concentrated. I think Dortmund, believe it or not, was the same idea, but when you lose the goal so quickly and you can then end up getting frazzled, and then you have that quality, then everything, then the distances then become much greater. Like you say, the press isn't quite right, the gaps start to open up, then becomes a little bit more open than what you would like it. Our game is all based on connection. when we haven't got the ball and when we have got the ball, lots of connections. But defensively, you had to be clear in our thinking, and that was the great learning from that Dortmund, is that, if you concede, okay, it can happen at the level, but don't lose your concentration and don't lose your commitment in what you're doing, because if you go on your own, top teams will pick you off. And that was it's what I expected, because of the group. The group is such an honest group. The group that want to learn, but then to take it into that level and perform like they did and be very well organised and compact and tight. It's a huge testament to them and their courage, because like I said, you have that Dortmund game, you're now going away to an opponent equally as dangerous, if not more. And to produce that level was great for the players. So it shows you that they want to learn.
How impressed were you with Trusty's performance in terms of just him establishing himself as a Celtic player?
Yeah, I thought he was immense in the game. I thought him and Scalesy, but Scalesy I've seen now for a long time. One of his great superpowers is defending the box. He's great at defending, and when it comes in, he puts his head on it. For Austin, yeah, big admiration, especially since he's come in. He's a player that's been playing on the wrong side virtually all his time, but he's just got on with it and coped with it. But then you see one of the big reasons why we did bring him in. His ability to leap and defend in the box. He's really powerful with his heading, but also his speed. There's a couple of recovery runs in behind. He's super quick, and he got there on a couple of occasions. So I was so pleased for him, because sometimes you need a big performance like that at the big clubs to really show your value. But yeah, he's settled in really well, and really pleased for him.
I guess it gives you that competition at the back. I know Cameron's coming back and might feature, but you've always talked about having competition in all places, and if you've got a guy playing like that on that stage, then that adds to everybody else.
Yeah. Well, I think every player has shown that they can play at a really high level, and that's what you want. You're not going to go through the whole. You're not going to go through the whole season just with the 11 players. I think the role players are very, very important. And we've seen that the other night, players coming off the bench. I think the centre-half position is a position where I always say it's about the two rather than just one. It's always about the balance of the two centre-halves. But both those guys, Scalesy and Austin, have been great, and no more so than the other night. So, but it's good to have good players back available.
It does give you that ability though to perhaps not rush Cameron back quite so quickly, just with the nature of his injuries.
Aye. Yeah, and also we got players, like Scalesy playing a lot of games internationally as well. He's been so robust, been absolutely fantastic, and since he's got into the team, his availability has been not quite 100%, but he's been virtually up there. And you think he's travelling away playing international games, having played 290 minutes, come back and then playing. So from time to time, some players just need that to come out, have a breather, and then to have a good level to come in and take his place. That's nice to have that option.
You hardly need reminding of the standards in the Champions League, but Dortmund losing 5 goals in one half as well. In terms of perspective, was there any comfort or at least context to be taken from that, given what happened in Dortmund?
No, I think I was watching the game and I know it's possible. I think that's obviously when I come in here after we lose to Dortmund and people talk about learning and perspective and everything else, then they think you're talking rubbish because you've lost 7-1 and it's not nice, of course. But I understand the level, I understand the quality, and like you say, Dortmund, who we've seen and played against us really, really well, everything they hit went in. But it's also a level where they lost 5 goals and a half as well. So thankfully here on this side we have perspective. I see the players every day. I see the learning, and yeah, there was a big learning from that, and hopefully we take that through the rest of the competition.
Because when it was so backs to the wall for long periods against Atalanta, especially in the last 10 minutes, a few chances came Celtic's way. Is the next stage of learning perhaps taking them and snatching a goal near the end? Yeah,
it's just I think it's having that wee bit of composure at the level as well. These are games where you have to have that belief to play as well. a couple of wee moments, didn't we, going into that last period where it looked like it could be the absolute perfect performance where you defended well and then on counter-attack you get your goals. Didn't quite just drop forwards, but that is the next stage. But also, a game against Atalanta looks totally different to some other games. Now, if you look at the couple of times and the numbers of times in the first half where you make an up, back and a through pass and sequence, and then all of a sudden you're through in their goal. That doesn't happen a lot in football. Normally you've got to go through various zones and lots of bodies behind the ball. But against their man-to-man, once you broke through it 2 or 3 times, you were in. So it's just having that, making maybe more the right decision in those moments can definitely help us for sure. But I was really pleased with what I've seen in the game in terms of the concentration, mentality, and I know that confidence will always grow with the ball the more opportunities you're in that tournament and you get the experience of it.
Can I just ask what the situation is with Cameron? Are you still just assessing his reaction to training?
Yeah. It certainly, whilst we were away, it was the best he'd felt. So he's obviously done some training back here. We're just being careful and listening to him really, to not want to force it really if it's not right. But he looked very good today, and he's been that throughout this week. So fingers crossed, comes through tomorrow okay, and then he can be involved in the squad.
Do you hope the game in midweek can be like a watershed for Celtic on trips into Europe, that people will look back, fans will look back, and that'll be the sort of the moment when trips into Europe started going the way Celtic fans hoped they would?
Well, let's hope so. It was a very good performance. The support. I was so happy for the supporters, because I'm sure after the Dortmund game there's a wee bit of trepidation. You're playing against a top team and who across Europe are one of the top goal scorers and all the top leagues. But they can have real pride in the team, and that's what I'm saying. It was not just for us as a coaching and managing staff, the players themselves, but for the supporters. They know that this team can now do that. That there is a graft there is a heart, there is a desire and an organisation that can help us going forward. So, and that was my primary objective when I came back. Well, clearly domestically we have to do our work, but can we build something in Europe that can allow us to progress and be better?
Social media is not perhaps the best place to go looking for reaction sometimes, but after the game there was a bit of a lukewarm reaction to Arnie Engels and just how his last couple of performances. Surprising that folk are, he's still adjusting to a new city, a new club, or perhaps jumping to conclusions or reaching verdicts on it.
Doesn't surprise me, no. It doesn't, but it doesn't really matter. I think everyone, there's critics in the game and people have an opinion. You have to respect that. For me, we brought a young player in who's nowhere near the finished article. I think sometimes there's a price around him, and that might feel that you're buying someone who's the finished article. He's not. He came in here as a 20-year-old player who's got great potential, and it's my job here, along with the staff, to develop that. He's coming from, I said to him, you're coming from playing one game a week, where that's a holiday in my book, to come and play at a big club with big pressure and big expectation, and you'll feel it. And sometimes you'll play and you're going to play in a lot of games, and sometimes you come out to recover. So it's all natural. We had the same with Nicholas Kuhn. We've had probably the same with Callum McGregor over many years. So it's football. And listen, I understand it. People will make a judgment and opinion, but no, I'm so happy he chose to come here. He's shown more than enough in this short period of time. That he's going to be a fantastic player for us.
Was he one as well in midweek who really showed his kind of concentration and tactical side of the game, just to support Callum McGregor and do the defensive work?
Well, he had a massive job to do on Ademola Lookman, and that was one of the key aspects of his job, and it's what his strength is. His strength is his running power, and like I said, he's a different player to what Matt O'Reilly was, but it was for that very reason. We bring him in with that power and that running ability that he has to cover the ground, do the dirty stuff, and like I said, he had a specific job on that side against Ademola, who is, you know, an absolutely brilliant young player. So and I thought he did that job really, really well. And sometimes you have to sacrifice yourself for the team, and he's shown that since the first day he arrived, that that's what he does and how he plays the game.
Can I just ask you about Tom Callahan's passing and your thoughts on Tom?
Yeah, I had a message this morning from young Tommy, the son, to say his dad had passed away. So I think all our thoughts and condolences are with Tommy. I think any player that's been signed twice by Jock Stein tells you how good a player he was. And no, it's always sad. I bumped into Tommy a few weeks only back, and yeah, sad day, but a real legend of the club, and all our thoughts are with his family.